a forum, talked about, what he feels. And he said he's expected, as former leaders of the country, you're expected to just see and not dabble into every conversation. And that's the practice all over the world. But he said people have been looking onto him to speak on these issues, even former President Obasanjo as well. But then that he holds it a duty, so to speak, and then he commented, using his words, the key actors in Nigeria, from the executive to the legislature, judiciary, and the Senate, and others are here. And he said, and the judiciary, they know the correct thing to do, but they are refusing to do it. Still quoting Goodluck Jonathan, he said, they are pretending to sleep, and waking such a person is extremely difficult because the person knows the right thing, or clear abuse of office and clear abuse of power, cutting across from the three arms of government, from the executive to the parliament and to the judiciary. And he further said, and I always plead with our people, and whatever we do affects everybody. And sometimes we do things and we think that it doesn't affect us. These are some of the words of former President Goodluck Jonathan. We have with us today the Director General at the Heritage Center, of course, a politician, public affairs analyst, Dr. Kach Onanuju is here with us virtually. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us. Quick one, I need your impression of the situation so far in River State, and what you feel of the opinion of Goodluck Jonathan on this matter.
Thank you very much. The opinion of President Jonathan and Professor Wole Soyinka simply mirrored the opinion of Nigerian Bar Association. I was in Abuja during the proclamation. I also saw myself that as at the time of the voice vote at the House of Representatives, the attendance register had 112 members. That simply told you they didn't have enough attendance, most people in attendance, to be able to legally got the two-thirds majority of members that's required by law. So they didn't form the quorum, and they went on to do what they did. And of course, you've heard what we also heard from the Senate. Secondly, no president has a right to outlaw another elected person. We saw Goodluck Jonathan did his own state of emergency. He did not remove the governor. He allowed the governor to stay, but then the emergency state was proclaimed, and that's because of insecurity. So whatever it is that President Tinubu saw as to go that route, should never have removed the elected governor. And we also know the problem. The problem is a struggle for control of the structures of political leverage in the state. As Minister Wike stated, he wanted control of the local governments. And that's not possible for a political structure which he claimed he wanted to own. It was actually set up under Governor Rufus Ada George. After that, the same structure served Governor Peter Odili. It passed from Peter Odili to serve Governor Ngozi Celestino Mejia before Amechi came in. Same structure served Nyesom Wike. And I believe that same structure should be allowed to exist freely. And the president should do the right thing of going to negotiate with the governor who is on the ground, if what he seeks is to work with the governor and the state come 2027 during the presidential elections, which I believe is at the heart of the president's own interest in this. It should have been done in line with the demands of the law. And I still believe nothing is too late. The president can still go back in the light of the recent comments by stakeholders, and he can go back and correct himself and make that proclamation to be in the same line as was done by President Goodluck, during which the governor was not removed. I believe we need peace in River State. I believe it will serve Nigeria's interest if we have peace in the Niger Delta. I think the president should also intercede to arrest the excesses of his Minister for Federal Capital Development, Barrister Nyesom Wike, for us to have much, much lasting peace.
Dr. Ononuju, still on the Rivers crisis, and just what the former president said, saying that they know the right thing to do, that the executive, the legislative arm of government, and of course the judiciary, they all know the right thing to do, but they are not doing the right thing. Now, something interesting happened on Friday. SERAP, that's the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, has approached the Federal High Court in Abuja, okay, filing a suit against the president. They are demanding an order to set aside the proclamation of a state of emergency in Rivers, and also an order to set aside the installation of the sole administrator in Rivers State. That's talking about Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, retired. What do you see, Dr. Ononuju, what do you see coming out of this? Do you see the judiciary rising to the occasion here and doing the right thing? How far do you think this case would go? What do you expect from the judiciary in this case?
What they have done by going to court is the right thing to do. I also believe that the governor and the members of opposition should simply seek the nuclear option of going to the Supreme Court directly and declaring a dispute with the federal government, and then urging the Supreme Court to rule. Again, knowing very well that this has happened before, and bringing to the position of the Supreme Court that when it happened before, the elected officials were not removed from the elected positions. I think that's the beauty of the rule of law. If, as they have stated, they believe the president, which I also believe to be the same thing, may have overreached himself, the right thing to do is to go to court. And in this case, I advise the governor to seek the nuclear option by going directly to the Supreme Court and demanding for an interpretation of the relevant sections of the law in regards to the right of the sitting president to remove an elected governor through such declarations. So I think there are a lot of positions that can be challenged in light of what we know regarding the current situation, which I believe can actually bring us to a saner place.
All right.
Going to the court is the best thing to do, and I do commend them for doing that. But I do advise the governor and the members of the opposition to go to the Supreme Court by seeking the nuclear option and declaring a case, just like happened recently when the former national government went straight to the Supreme Court in case of the currency changes, and then Supreme Court ruling that that was very unconstitutional what CBN did. I do not see anything wrong in their approaching the court seek for declaration.
Yes, at that meeting where Goodluck Jonathan spoke, I allow you and distinguished Nigerians to watch what he said and how he said it on this matter. Please hang in there, Doctor.
Suspending the governor came up. What is happening in the country, everybody talks about Rivers State on television, and some of these are the issues we discuss. We're talking about building a society where no one is oppressed, as reflected in the top paragraph of our national anthem. As a former president and also from the Niger Delta, when the issue of suspending the governor came up, I think people call on me, oh, President Jonathan, oh, President Obasanjo, you should say something. People expected us to say something about what is happening. And of course, people don't even know that traditionally all over the world, former presidents hardly make statements about what the current presidents are doing because of the tension it could create in the country. In most cases, look at America, look at everywhere. So hardly for former presidents to make, sometimes you see and you believe. And of course, what is happening in Nigeria today regarding the situation in Rivers State is like an Indian proverb that said that if somebody is sleeping, really sleeping, you can easily wake up that person. But if the person is pretending to sleep, you find it difficult to wake up that person. The key actors in Nigeria, from executive to the legislature, luckily Senator Binta and others are here, and the judiciary, they know the correct thing to do, but they are refusing to do it. They are pretending to sleep. And waking such a person is extremely difficult because the person knows the right thing. A clear abuse of offices, clear abuse of power, clear abuse of privileges, cutting across from the three arms of government, from the executive to the parliament to the judiciary.
Dr. Nonuju, you heard Dr. Goodluck Jonathan speak there. Two things for me. We give the analogy, of that proverb to say you can only wake somebody genuinely sleeping. It's difficult to wake somebody pretending to sleep. What do you infer from that statement when he said our institutions are pretending to sleep? That's number one. And number two, he spoke very categorically without mincing was to say, this is an abuse of power. This is an abuse of privileges. But first question first, your inference of our institutions are pretending to sleep. What do you think he meant?
Well, he's very clear on that. The institutions are weak. It's not that they're pretending to sleep. The institutions are weak. They have been weakened by the varying behavior of strong men. And I believe that's been the bane of Nigeria as a nation. The weakening of institutions of state by strong men who seek their voice to be stronger than the institutions that we do have. And I think the way you correct it is we raise our voice in condemnation of such political overreaches, which is what President Goodluck has done, which is the same thing I am doing. We do support the president when he carries out duties in line with intentions to better the lot of the country and the citizenry. But when mistakes are made like this, of course, you will come out to bring your voice, which Goodluck has done right now, in an attempt to correct the president and guide them proper. And that's what we're doing right now. I believe the overreaching by the president has been noted by Nigerians, and accordingly, Nigerians are raising their voice for a correction. And that's why I praise the action of those who have gone to court. They should do that, and we should have more people raise their voices and also go to court. And maybe in the middle, the courts could then guide us and tell the politicians to step back a little bit from their overreaching positions.
Oh, all right, Dr. Nonuju. Talking about the National Assembly now, these are people who are supposed to be representing the interests of the people. Dr. Nonuju, if we look at the case of the state of emergency declared in Rivers State, majority of Nigerians, eminent Nigerians and institutions have come out to say, oh, the president actually overreached. He shouldn't have suspended elected officials, duly elected, democratically elected officials in Rivers State. So if so many Nigerians are of the opinion that the president actually overreached, and the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, saying right there that that was an abuse of power, an abuse of office, but the National Assembly supported the president. What's your concern here? There were some rumors in some quarters that members of the National Assembly actually accepted bribes of $5,000 each. And they came out to refute those allegations, saying there's nothing like that. But in your opinion, Dr. Nonuju, who are these people representing? If so many Nigerians believe otherwise, think otherwise, then how come they are supporting the actions of the president? What's your concern in this regard?
That is not true. I don't think the Houses of Parliament supported the actions of the president. What you're trying to say is that there were maneuvers to pretend that there were support from the parliament. That's not true.
But that's what it looks like. That's what we are saying.
They ratified it.
We now know the truth. At the time of the voice vote at the Federal House of Representatives, there were 112 registered members. And when Honorable Obiagocha raised that point of order and observation, the speaker said that they will later on consult the attendant register as people are still filing their names. But of course, in this kind of issue, it will have been good to take the register and then do a body count. And that's what the law required. All that was not done. That's why I tell you, you cannot say they did. There were abuse of processes by senior officers and leaders of the National Assembly. That's why we said those who are not in agreement with what has happened are very free to approach the court to show that the protocols that will have given its legality were not met. And since those protocols were not gotten, that the court should see truly a need to reverse this process. I don't think such voice vote, the way it was gotten, was right. Yes, we know money was spent, 5,000 or thereabout for members of the ruling party. Members of the opposition got more. Most got $10,000, I'm aware. But then
these are allegations.
These are allegations which seems to mirror the truth about the challenges that our democracy is currently under. Nobody says the country will not get better from this. We will. But of course, we need to work at it to be able to strengthen the institutions of state so that they do not get easily manipulated this way. And so, having said that, I believe the right thing to do is to head to the courts, because we already have enough pictures to paint for the courts to do the right thing.
Doctor,
if the courts then don't do the right thing.
If you permit me to butt in, sir. Yes. Quick one. Goodluck Jonathan spoke on the matter and confirmed that, traditionally, former president, head of state, are expected, to be circumspect. They don't speak because of the effect of what the words could have on the polity. Now, he came out categorically, spoke on the matter and said what has happened is an abuse of power, abuse of privileges. That's one. Number two, in the later part of his speech, he talked about how these actions that we are currently seeing have implications on the country and the image of the country. In fact, he said, nobody will bring his money into an economy that the judiciary is compromised. And it's not only 419s and the one we call Yahoo boys, the fraudsters, that demarket the country, but they are part of the problem. But decisions like this are demarketing the public. Don't you think Goodluck Jonathan could have had audience with President Tinubu to say, my friend, this is not right, before coming out publicly, because he's a person of note? Is he not undermining this government, even if his intentions are right?
Well, I believe you could make the same argument in regards to the public interventions by President Obasanjo. But you also should understand that we as a society, we're the ones who sustain these former presidents. So it's in order for them to intervene in this way, as it has been found that Obasanjo's interventions are very popular with the citizenry. The idea is to serve us, whether you're in or out of office. And if your constant interventions help to guide society towards a better path, continue intervening. I don't know where President Goodluck got that convention. Former presidents can stay out of making commentaries, but if we've seen democracies around the world, former presidents do speak. President Trump didn't stop. He continued to speak till he became president again. President Lula da Silva didn't stop. He continued to speak until he became president again. So President Obasanjo has continued to speak, same way as President Obasanjo, what's his name? President Babangida continues to speak. If you don't want to speak, you can give reasons why you don't want to speak. But if you know your duty bound to raise your voice in aid of society for looking after you and recognizing you, of course, you come out and speak. When you speak, you provide guidance for society so that the young citizen will know what to go to. I don't think presidents should keep quiet. No, they should have the right to continue to interject, to intervene, speak up, and guide society. That's why they are former presidents. They are our role models.
Oh, all right, Dr. Nonju. You said that aggrieved National Assembly members should actually go to court. But sincerely, do you see any of them going to court to protest the abuse of procedural measures? Or how do we put it now? If the right procedures were not taken, is that the right process? Do you really see any one of them going to court to challenge that. And again, how do you see this Rivers crisis ending? It will take time. The lawsuits going to court, back and forth, will all take time. What do you see playing out in Rivers State? Now we have a current state of emergency to last for 6 months. In the first instance, how do you see this playing out in Rivers State in the long run?
Well, I see this as a test of our democracy. A society do have these challenges. I also believe Nigerians should wake up and speak up in aid of a better society. I do not want to kind of say how tomorrow will be, but I will tell you, we know what the problems are, and it is the attempt by the former Governor Wike, to maintain a grip on the structures of power in Rivers State. And of course, President Tinubu's belief that Wike's actions do aid his maneuvers vis-a-vis 2027. But I think they're going to grab the state is not the best way to do it. I believe there are better ways for President Tinubu to gain the working relationship of the people of Rivers State. Grabbing the state in this manner, I don't think is the best. I believe that all involved should come
Dr.
to... Dr.
Noju, are you referring to everything that has happened so far as state grabbing?
That's what it is. Governor Wike tried to grab the state in a way unknown to law. When you've ruled for 8 years, you give way and you let the other man...
But the president has a right to protect the rule of law.
Those are the words he used. We will always state rule of law when we want to overdo things. The truth is, the president doesn't have the power to suspend an elected governor. And we have seen that before. So in line with what we've done before, I think the president can do his proclamations if he feels that the rule of law is challenged. But of course, don't break the law in trying to sort the law. No. Allow the elected governor to be there. If behind it, as Wike has said, he would like to be giving some local governments, you will ask yourself, a man's quest to control local government after he has left power, should that be a reason for the president to act for him? No. Because if you look at what's going on now, you see parallels with what happened in the 60s when the Belawa government outlawed the rule of law in Western Nigeria, and then brought in Chief Majekodunmi to replace Akintola. And that took from Akintola's quarrels with Chief Awolowo. From there, Awolowo was put in jail with one charge or the other. Before you knew it, soldiers struck. And then in an attempt to bring Awolowo back and put him at head of government, one thing led to the other, and we went down civil war. So I think we should be very careful so that we do not repeat history. It's not the very best. It is because of that particular action in the 60s that the framers of the current law said that nobody will have the right to remove an elected person from office. So I think President Tinubu should not be laying dangerous precedents that will make somebody tomorrow come and be able to outlaw rule of law in Lagos as a strategy towards grabbing Lagos State. Because he should just be careful so that he doesn't set very dangerous precedents that could be used against him sometime in the future by someone who wants to take possession of Lagos.
All right, Dr. Jojo. Very quickly, Dr. Nonuju, as it is right now, we are looking up to the judiciary, okay, to set things right. But a lot of people are of the opinion that the judiciary in Nigeria too has been compromised. Dr. Nonuju, do you have absolute faith in the judiciary to do the right thing in this case?
I will tell you that you should, communities, societies do not, for the fear of war, decide against going to war. You do not, because for the fear of rampant cases of foreign shopping in our judicial system, say you will not go to the judiciary. You must continue to push the limits, to continue to seek to gain that, because if we were afraid of men in uniforms, we would never have been able to wrestle democracy from the military people who didn't want to leave power. So we should not sell despair as an option. No, I don't agree to that.
All right.
So you still have faith in the judiciary of Nigeria? You still have faith in judiciary? You believe they will do the right thing in this case?
I believe the judiciary also do gauge the mood of society. If before we go to court, we work up some kind of social calibration of consensus in regards to this issue, the judiciary will look at the social space and then decide in a way to stabilize society. I think we should not give up.
Right.
I believe we should not stop in pushing until we get to our destination of a better society for all.
Right.
Despair should not be an option in any case.
An option. Noted. Still talking about the judiciary that Emeka talked about, the faith in the judiciary. But in the words of Goodluck Jonathan, while he was making that speech, he used an analogy, or, posited an instance rather, to say, no investor will bring his money, into a country that the judiciary has been compromised. Is he not casting aspersion, even when there are challenges on every sphere of life, every institutions of the government? But when somebody of the stature of Goodluck Jonathan speaks that way, to say no serious business man or woman will put his money into a country that, the judiciary is compromised, and this action of the that has to do with state of emergency is demarketing the country. Those two instances, don't you think that's casting aspersion on the judiciary?
No, it's putting a warning to the judiciary not to allow itself to be seen to have been totally compromised, so as not to undermine the intention of those who mean well from coming to invest in our economy. So such words are good. When leaders speak that way, the judiciary takes note and understands that if they continue to go on the path that will allow people to draw the conclusion that they have been totally compromised, that this could also have a severe effect on the decision of investors who intend to bring their money into our economy. That's what we should do. Speak up. Don't keep quiet.
Yes.
As despair.
Yes, sir. It talked about this action, demarketing the country. But many persons will argue to say every country have its own challenge. The US, the UK, the France, the China of this world, everybody have their laws. And Nigeria is a sovereign country. Whatever we do here, even while there are, bottlenecks and there are challenges, it should be our business. And we shouldn't, for the fear of our image, in the community of nations, not handle our affairs the same way, the way we deem it fit. Does it really matter what our image is at this time? This is a sovereign nation.
No, you're wrong. Our image means a lot. Don't give the foreigners the reasons to undermine us. Don't forget, there's a competition amongst nations. The reasons why you hear about countries like the US and the British trying to lobby to undermine Nigeria or to promote or sponsor covert operations to undermine our ability to compete with their Western interests, it's because these things do exist. So we should at all times raise our voices to remind other leaders that the weakening of institutions, in this case the judiciary, affects the judgments outsiders hold about Nigeria when it has to do with issues like investing in Nigeria. I agree. We should continue to raise our voices to warn our judiciary and other operators of the consequences of us behaving in a way that will be seen to undermine the independence and uprightness of the judiciary. That if foreigners do not trust our judiciary, they may not want to come here for the sake of adjudications where they do have arguments with other business partners, and in this case, local business partners. So I think raising our voices, as Goodluck has done, is the right thing to do. Raise it peacefully, raise it in line with the law, raise it also to help the incumbent. They might want to do something desperately because they think it could bring them some advantage in future. But when we raise voices this way, we also help to calm and advise the incumbents not to overreach themselves as a way not to understand their own, or undermine their own government and collectively undermine the country as a whole.
All right.
So it makes sense for us to speak up every time.
All right, Dr. Nonju. The former president has spoken, and he has said the judiciary should actually wake up. But hypothetically speaking, Dr. Nonju, if in this case you have said that the judiciary should also feel the pulse of the society, look at the social space, and it is glaring, it's quite glaring to all of us that the majority of Nigerians believe that the current president actually overreached by suspending democratically elected officials and all that. But hypothetically speaking, Dr. Nonju, if the judiciary continues to pretend to be sleeping, just as former President Goodluck Jonathan has said, where does that leave Nigerians? Okay, if they choose, if the judiciary choose to look the other way, again, in this case, pretending to be asleep, what would Nigerians be left with in this case?
Anarchy. And because we don't want such anarchy, where people could just wake up and then outlaw the Constitution and then just make proclamations that are not in line with the rule of law. So this is how to do it. Raising our voices is the right way to do it. When we raise our voices, those in power will understand that the community will not accept this, and then they will now behave themselves by advising themselves and then stepping back from such overreaches, just like this one now. I think that's what it is. Nobody is perfect. No government is perfect. And now that the president has done what he has done, of course, a lot of us support him in his current policies, like me, like Professor Shoyinka, and other people also in the media. But we are right now saying that it is wrong to have gone that far in trying to satisfy the antics and wishes, even though they are not in line with the law, of the former governor, current minister in his administration, Mr. Nyesom Wike. I believe if he continues to blindly follow the emotions of Mr. Wike, that could undermine and imperil his administration. And I think he will either choose his government when actually things are getting well economically. Last week was supposed to be a very good time with good numbers for President Tinubu, but he now damaged it with that grab of River State that did not follow the rule of law. Okay. And that's why I said we are in order to call him, to tell him to rescind such action so that he does not lay a dangerous precedent that somebody could use in future to rule against him and seize Lagos.
All right, Dr. Onoju, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We've been speaking with Dr. Kach Onoju. We really appreciate you joining us once again. Thank you so much, Dr. Onoju. And we do hope that we will continue in this conversation later. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll go on a short break right now, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.